In this video, I'm going to talk about fear as a motivating factor. I'm going to raise 3 instances of fear, and in each instance, the definition of fear is slightly different. Okay, so the first instance happened just yesterday. So basically, I got into an argument on Facebook, and I was badly hurt. So this happened very early on in the morning. Now, I felt like I'm addicted to Facebook. I am addicted to Facebook, and it was a slide into this so-called addiction. So I'm always holding my mobile phone, right? And it's so easy to scroll, especially on topics I'm interested in. So there are certain groups that I'm pretty active in. Secondly, I like to check the notification and see the responses to my post, as well as the rather narcissistic how many people liked my post, the figures. So I know that this is Lent, and God has been telling me to spend more time with Him. Or rather, I must put it the other way. Rather, I know that Lent is a time where we, cut ourselves away from worldly pleasures, like even food, in order to have more time to spend with the Father. So, in my previous church, one of the things is we talk about fasting, but it's not only the physical food, but it could be fasting from social media. So in the past, I have totally cut out from Facebook. I think about 2 years ago, I spent 1 month without Facebook, and I loved it. However, my justification this time round is that my work needs me to be on Facebook. I need to be seen, so to speak. So, but of course, there are certain rules that I could have set in place, and I in fact did, I will only check my Facebook on my laptop, not on my mobile. I will only check my Facebook after I have read the scriptures and said my prayers. So that was in January, and I managed to do it. Then I slipped up sometime in late January and February, and I, started reading Facebook all the time. So the thing is, even the last week or last 2 weeks or so, I knew that I ought not to, but I've just gotten into the habit of checking Facebook the first thing in the morning. So I did the same thing yesterday, and that was what allowed me to see a post, comment on it, and then get into an argument. And then I was pretty hurt by it, and it was painful. So this morning I woke up, and then at the back of my mind, I was thinking, see, you didn't obey God. If you had just followed the routine that you ought to do, which is spend time with God before you go into all this media, arrange your schedule first before you get caught up into all this. So I knew what to do. I didn't do it because I always thought, well, just a little bit, and a little bit is usually 5 minutes or half an hour, right? You know how it is. I get sucked into it. So so yesterday I shared that I was pretty emotionally affected by it. The whole day was wasted, but thank God today when I woke up, I felt so much better. The fog and the cloud that was hanging over me was gone. I felt so much happier, and I thank God for restoration, and I thank God that He is my peace, and after a good night's sleep, I felt happy. I feel happy. So anyway, so this morning I woke up, and of course the desire, I think I do not automatically reach out for my phone, but because I remember that I disobeyed, you see, and then I say, see, remember the pain? Why don't you get your priorities straight first? If you spend time with God and all that, you are centered, you are steady, you have the Holy Spirit with you, then go through your Facebook. You wouldn't have responded the way you did, or you have enough wisdom to know what to respond to. And the interesting thing was, actually yesterday when I was responding to it, I try to be aware of what I'm writing, right? But there's a lot of pride in me, and sometimes I love to be right, or I love to show outrage because I have the moral high ground. So that is all about the flesh, and it feels good, you know. So and I know that spiritually, when we are influenced, there is a certain kick to it, and we don't really see what is wrong, especially when it's religious, like a so-called religious spirit to it, because I know the scriptures, because I know I have right on my side. So it was so now that when I look back at it, right, the kind of feeling I got, I mean, at the point of time I was writing it, I wasn't aware of it, but when I reflected, you know, it seemed as if there was some like puppet masters manipulating my words, but making it feel good for me to say certain things. And I think and you know, I felt there was a caution inside of me that says, hey, you know, you are opening yourself up, like how will people respond, right? So, well, I expected a response, a vigorous response that I can then happily respond to, right? Because the fun is in the debate and the fight, so to speak. But what I got was very abusive words that were true because it spoke to my spiritual condition, but it was said in a very harsh manner with the intent to hurt. So it really struck me, and I opened myself to that. So I wouldn't have responded to it. I may not even have seen the post, I don't know, but I would have definitely responded in a different way if I had spent time with the Lord, right? My previous Protestant pastor had this really nice analogy. He said that when in the old days, or not even in the old, but thank God we have divine liturgy still, right? In the past, where the priest would have the censers and then the perfume going up to the Lord, you know, and he would come up the temple and the perfume would still surround him. It's the perfume that comes from being in God's presence, right? And it is the perfume of the God's presence that you bring, that people sense, that draws them to you after you spend time with God, right? And you go carry that perfume after you spend time with the Lord. So that was what didn't happen because I didn't spend time with God in the morning, and so I was in a flesh, right? And so this morning, the fear of pain, the fear of being hurt, the fear of things happening again, the fear of making the same mistake was at the back of my mind. So it was easy not to check the phone on Facebook until I got my priorities straightened out. So in that sense, this fear of pain, fear of making the same mistake was good, right? It was good. And it wasn't really an intellectual thing because I know intellectually what I should do, but when I don't have that painful experience before, you know, and the smart thing to do, right, is not to put your hand in the fire, know that it's painful, get hurt, and learn your lesson. The smart thing to do would be when God says, hey, the fire is hot, don't put your hand in there, and I say, oh yes, okay, is to obey without the pain and then learn. But I think there's something in me, and I think in all of us, that knows when something's a sin, and sin, the definition of sin can mean to fall short, or, you know, we shouldn't look at sin as something small, right? That's how we define it. We rank sins. But I think if we knew what God wanted us to do, and if we had the fear of God, right, we would just simply obey. So anyway, that was the first incident. The second incident I want to talk about is about job security, which I think I will do in the next video because this is getting pretty long. So see you in the next video.